Imagine standing on a windswept shore, the salt spray misting your face, and feeling the immense, crushing weight of 400 years of silence. This is Roanoke Island, a place where an entire community of men, women, and children stepped off the map of history, leaving behind nothing but a single cryptic word carved into a wooden post. It's America's oldest and most haunting unsolved mystery. But what if the story we've been told is just a comfortable lie? What if the truth is far more complex and far more unsettling? Maybe everything you thought you knew about the lost colony is wrong. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is in the comments below. I'm always curious to see how far these stories travel. Now share your thoughts. Do you believe they simply assimilated with local tribes, or is something else at play? Our story begins not in the dusty pages of a history book, but in the damp, shifting sands of North Carolina's Outer Banks. Here, Dr. Aegis Thorne, a historian whose methods are considered borderline heretical by the academic establishment, scans the ground with a modified magnetometer. He's not looking for pottery shards or corroded buckles. He believes the Roanoke colonists weren't just victims of circumstance. He believes they were following a plan. For decades, experts have argued whether the 1187 settlers were massacred or absorbed into the CROATOAN tribe, a debate that has become a sterile intellectual exercise. Thorne finds this debate laughably unimaginative. He thinks the key isn't in what the colonists left behind, but in what they might have been carrying. Suddenly, his device shrieks, indicating a small, dense metallic object buried a few feet down. With a practiced hand, he digs, his heart pounding a steady, hopeful rhythm. What he unearths is not a Spanish coin or an English musket ball. It's a small, palm-sized disc of a lustrous, graphite-colored metal that feels impossibly light. In its center, a slender needle floats over a series of intricate, unfamiliar star charts. It's a compass, but it's all wrong. The needle, carved from what looks like obsidian, ignores the planet's magnetic field entirely, pointing steadfastly west-southwest. The craftsmanship is exquisite, far beyond the capabilities of a 16th century English blacksmith. It feels modern. As he turns it over, his thumb brushes against a tiny, almost invisible etching on the back, a strange geometric symbol of a spiral bisecting a single perfect triangle. It's a maker's mark he's never seen before. A chilling realization washes over him. For 4 centuries, everyone searched for a colony that got lost. This impossible object suggests they knew exactly where they were going. That strange, alien-like maker's mark, the spiral bisecting the triangle, becomes Thorne's obsession. Standard historical databases and archaeological registries turn up nothing. It's a symbol that, according to official records, simply doesn't exist. It's an ironic dead end. The first solid clue in 400 years leads absolutely nowhere. But Thorne isn't a conventional historian. He dives into the fringe, the forgotten, the academically unclean corners of history. His search leads him to the musty, underfunded New England Antiquarian Repository, a place that smells of decaying paper and regret. The repository is a ghost itself, a casualty of budget cuts, holding collections deemed too eccentric for mainstream institutions. The head archivist, a woman with a weary but sharp gaze, scoffs when Thorne presents a sketch of the symbol. She knows it. It's the personal mark of Silas Blackwood, a disgraced 19th century historian who, as she puts it, went chasing phantoms and ruined his career trying to prove that the Roanoke settlers had discovered a form of terrestrial magnetism. She leads Thorne to a dim, climate-controlled room and points to a single, dusty archival box. She says his entire life's work with a dismissive wave. Inside is a leather-bound journal, its pages brittle and yellowed. This is the heart of Silas Blackwood's obsession. At first, it reads like the work of a brilliant but unhinged mind. There are frantic astronomical charts, detailed sketches of the local flora on Roanoke Island, and page after page filled with the repeated drawing of the spiral and triangle. Thorne feels a jolt of recognition. Blackwood wasn't just investigating the colony. He must have found another one of those compasses. He was following the same breadcrumbs over a century ago. The journal is a coded mess, but the code isn't literary, it's scientific. Seemingly, Blackwood is trying to correlate the compass's strange direction with specific stellar alignments. The academic world still fiercely debates the legitimacy of 19th century fringe historians like Blackwood, arguing their work often blurred the line between fact and sensationalist fiction, a convenient way to dismiss uncomfortable findings. Then Thorne finds it. Tucked between a rant about academic gatekeepers and a painstakingly detailed map of the North Carolina coastline is a cryptic reference. Blackwood writes of an island erased by the map maker's guilt and a silent stone that sings a celestial song. He mentions following the compass not to find people, but to find this stone. The final entry in the journal is chilling. The handwriting, once precise, devolves into a panicked scrawl. It reads, "The star sailors were not the first. They feared what they awoke. The stone is not a guidepost. It is a..." The ink cuts off mid-word, followed by a dark, smeared stain. It's as if the pen and Silas Blackwood himself simply ceased to exist. Thorne now holds two mysteries in his hands: the 400-year-old disappearance of a colony and the 150-year-old vanishing of the one man who got too close to the truth. The archivist's warning echoes in Thorne's mind, but the smeared, unfinished sentence in Blackwood's journal is a siren call he can't ignore. Back in his makeshift lab, a rented cottage smelling of sea salt and old wood, he realizes the map isn't a single drawing. It's a puzzle. Blackwood, a man obsessed with celestial mechanics, had encoded it within the journal's astronomical charts. Thorne spends days cross-referencing the star charts with a meticulously drawn coastal map, realizing Blackwood was using stellar parallax, a technique far too advanced for a casual historian, to triangulate a position. It's a location that only becomes visible when the sky maps are overlaid on the sea maps at a specific, calculated angle. The final point lands on a speck of land in a notoriously volatile region of the Outer Banks known as the Graveyard of the Atlantic. It's an area where the coastline is in a constant state of flux. He checks modern satellite imagery and old nautical charts. There's nothing there but a treacherous shoal, a place sailors avoid. This aligns perfectly with one of the most contentious debates in historical cartography, the existence of phantom islands. Experts still argue whether islands depicted on centuries-old maps like the mythical Isle of Demons were real landmasses consumed by the sea or simply navigational errors. Thorne now suspects this island wasn't a phantom, it was deliberately erased. He hires a grizzled local charter captain, a man named Silas, ironically enough, who agrees to take him to the coordinates for a price that suggests he thinks Thorne is insane. As their boat cuts through the choppy gray water, Silas recounts the legend of the Great Hurricane of 1846, a storm so violent it carved new inlets and swallowed entire islands whole. "Lots of places on them old maps ain't there no more," he grunts, "and some places that are there ain't on no map." As they approach the coordinates, an eerie calm descends. The roar of the surf fades, the gulls vanish, and the air becomes unnaturally still. The silence is the most unsettling part. It's a profound, sound-dampening quiet that feels heavy, physical. They found it, a sliver of an island, no more than a few acres of sand and gnarled, salt-stunted trees, exactly where Blackwood's star math said it would be. Thorne grabs his gear, including the strange Roanoke compass, and steps ashore. The obsidian needle, which had been pointing steadily west-southwest, now spins erratically before locking onto a point directly inland. It's pulling him. He trudges through the coarse sand, the oppressive silence broken only by his own breathing. In a small clearing, he finds it, a pillar of smooth, non-porous black stone, half buried in the sand, humming with a low-frequency vibration that he feels more in his teeth than he hears. The silent stone isn't silent. It sings, just as Blackwood wrote. He kneels, brushing sand from its surface, his fingers tracing the impossibly smooth finish. There are no carvings, no ancient symbols. But as his hand reaches the base, he feels something else. A small metal plate, cold and precise, fastened to the stone. The low, resonant hum of the silent stone fills the air, a physical presence that seems to press in on Thorne from all sides. The obsidian needle of the Roanoke compass is now completely still, pointing directly at the stone's core as if it has finally found its true north. The metal plate at its base feels jarringly out of place, an industrial scar on an object that feels ancient and organic. He scrapes away more sand, his pulse quickening. It's not a decorative plaque, it's an asset tag, stamped with clean block lettering and a serial number. The inscription reads, Project Aegis, US.DOE Asset 07. Below it a date, March 1958. A wave of cold confusion washes over him. The Department of Energy? Project Aegis? This discovery shatters every historical framework he has. The mystery has just leapt forward 4 centuries, from the Elizabethan era to the height of the Cold War. He pulls out his satellite phone, the signal struggling in the island's strange atmospheric calm. A frantic search for Project Aegis turns up almost nothing. It's a ghost project, buried under layers of declassification protocols and black ink redactions. The few declassified fragments he can find are vague, referencing research into non-traditional energy signatures and geodetic anomalies. It sounds like bureaucratic doublespeak for something far stranger. This revelation connects directly to a real historical event: the US government's extensive and often clandestine scientific projects during the Cold War, like Project Stargazer, which sought to use high-altitude balloons for astronomical and reconnaissance purposes. The line between science, espionage, and the outright bizarre was often blurred. Thorne circles the stone, his historian's mind racing to reconcile the irreconcilable. The 16th century colonists came here. Silas Blackwood, the 19th century obsessive, followed them. And then, in 1958, a top-secret US government project arrived, cataloged this impossible object, and then simply left. The irony is staggering. The government didn't hide the stone, they just tagged it, filed it away in some forgotten ledger, and let the island's obscurity do the rest. He wonders, what did the Project Aegis scientists think they had found? The unresolved academic debate over the government's historical transparency in Cold War-era research comes to mind. Scholars still argue whether projects were buried due to national security concerns or because they stumbled upon findings that defied conventional explanation. His eyes scan the ground around the stone's base. He notices a pattern in the disturbed sand, faint but deliberate. It's a series of shallow circular depressions, almost like footprints. But they aren't human. They are perfectly round, about the size of a dinner plate, and arranged in a distinct tripod formation. It's a strange, unsettling detail that makes no sense. As he backs away, trying to take in the whole scene, the humming stone, the modern tag, and the bizarre footprints, his foot catches on something hard. It's a length of corroded metal, nearly rusted through. He pulls it free from the sand. It's a long, slender rod with a flanged, four-finned end. It looks unnervingly like a tail section of an old mortar shell or some kind of primitive rocket. But lying next to it, glinting in the pale sunlight, is a single, spent shell casing. It's not from a musket or a mortar. The head stamp is clear. .306 Springfield. It's a modern rifle cartridge. Someone else has been here. And they were armed.
The .30-06 casing feels cold and heavy in Thorne's hand. It's a modern intrusion, a violent punctuation mark on a 400-year-old sentence. This isn't just an archaeological site, it's an active scene. The tripod footprints, the mortar-like fin, the shell casing, they don't fit with the colonists, Blackwood, or even a 1950s government survey team. The evidence suggests a fourth visitor, one more recent and far more aggressive. The chilling thought hits him. What if Silas Blackwood's journal entry didn't end because he was overcome with awe, but because he was interrupted? What if someone stopped him? That single smeared word, could have been attack, alarm, or army. The mystery of the lost colony is no longer just about where they went. It's about what they found and who has been guarding it ever since. Back on the mainland, Thorne leverages a single precious contact, a retired CIA analyst who owes him a favor. The name Project Aegis initially draws a blank, but the serial number, Asset 07, is the key. After days of tense silence, the analyst calls back, his voice low and strained. "This isn't my world, Eris. This is deeper." Project Aegis wasn't just DOE. It was a joint program. They were tasked with locating and neutralizing precognitive historical threats. The term is absurd, bureaucratic jargon at its most terrifying. It means they were hunting for things in the past that could pose a danger to the future. They weren't just observing history, they were trying to sanitize it. The analyst explains that Aegis was officially disbanded in 1961 after a colossal containment failure during an operation in the Pacific. This real-world event, the sudden termination of a secret program, is often a sign of either a colossal failure or a discovery so profound it had to be buried under a new, even deeper layer of secrecy. The truth unfolds like a conspiracy thriller. The Roanoke colonists, possibly guided by someone or something else, found the stone. They weren't lost. They were a survey team. But as Blackwood's journal hinted, they awoke something. The stone isn't a beacon, it's a cage, or perhaps a listening post. And its activation registered somewhere, attracting the attention of its original owners or guardians. The entire Roanoke saga, the vanishing, the cryptic carving, wasn't a tragedy of pioneers. It was the first recorded containment breach. This theory reframes the long-standing legal and ethical debate over the seizure of lands from indigenous peoples. What if the English crown wasn't just claiming territory, but unknowingly trespassing on something far more ancient and powerful? The final horrifying piece clicks into place when the analyst sends Thorne one last, heavily encrypted file. It's a single satellite image of the Phantom Island taken 3 months ago. The image shows the stone, the clearing, and a small, temporary camp. Standing near the camp are two figures in modern tactical gear. The photo quality is grainy, but the insignia on their shoulders is unmistakable. It's the spiral bisecting the triangle. The organization that armed the Roanoke colonists 4 centuries ago is still active, and they are still guarding the stone. The chilling irony is that Thorne thought he was uncovering a historical mystery. In reality, he has stumbled into an ongoing 400-year-old Cold War, and he's just announced his presence to the enemy. And so the search for a lost English colony becomes a journey into the heart of a secret that has been meticulously guarded for centuries, a secret that suggests the history of this continent began long before any European ships made landfall. The silence of Roanoke was never an absence of answers, but a deliberate and brutally enforced quiet. A curtain drawn over a stage where forces far beyond our comprehension continue to play out their ancient drama. We are left to wonder not just what happened to those 117 souls, but how many others, like Silas Blackwood, have been erased for getting too close to a truth we were never meant to know. This endless cycle of discovery and disappearance serves as a stark reminder that some mysteries may not be puzzles waiting to be solved, but rather warnings waiting to be heeded. Whispers from a past that is not nearly as dead and gone as we would like to believe.